Hi there, Morgan here from Crafting a Lovely Life, and today I'm going to show you my favorite way to layer iron-on vinyl. We're going to make this super cute summer vibes tote with 8 different colors of vinyl, so I can show you just how easy it is to layer different colors of iron-on vinyl. All right, let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is measure our tote bag to see how wide and tall we want our design to be on the bag. For this tote bag, I'm going to make my design about 10 inches tall so it doesn't overlap with the pink part of the bottom of the bag. I really wanted a super colorful summer tote bag to carry all of our pool things this summer, so I'm using 8 different colors for this bag. You do not have to use as many colors if you don't want to. Just change the colors of the different layers in Design Space to whatever colors you would like to use. I'm sure it will be cute no matter what colors you choose. So let's open up Cricut Design Space to get our project ready to be cut. We're going to open up a new project in Design Space and upload our design. The design I'm using for this project is available for free on my website, and I will link that down below. I already had this design uploaded, so I will just select it and click Insert Image. Now we can adjust the design size to fit on the tote bag. You can use the arrows to resize the design or type the dimensions using the top toolbar. I wanted to note really quick that when I create designs for iron-on specific projects that have multiple colors and layers, I don't like to overlap the vinyl. I feel like this is a bit wasteful, so instead I slice the layers out of the images. So you can see on my watermelon, instead of having a large black layer of vinyl that goes under the watermelon to look like seeds, I just sliced out the black seeds in the watermelon so they could be placed right in between the red layer of vinyl. If you come across a design that has large layers that just go right on top of each other, you can still do this just like I'm getting ready to show you, except your vinyl will overlap. Okay, so before we cut this design, we will want to attach the different design elements we want to stay together during the cut. Most of the summer image layers will be cut individually, but we will want to keep the summer letters together as well as the vibe letters. I'm also going to attach the black watermelon seeds together, so layering them on the tote bag later will be easier. To do this, we will want to select the entire image and click Ungroup. Now the layers are grouped by color. To keep the summer letters together, we will need to ungroup that layer as well. So click the layer and select Ungroup. Now we can select just the summer letters. Hold down your Shift key and click each letter in the Layers panel. Then click Attach. Now we can do the same thing for the Vibes letters in the design. Click that layer and select Ungroup. Then hold down the Shift key on your keyboard and click each letter in the Layers panel. Then click Attach. You can see how the letters stay together now. Then we can do the same thing for the black watermelon seeds. This will make layering so much easier later when we do the watermelon. So let's just click Make It really quick and double check that we have everything attached that we want to keep together during the cut. You can see each color is on its own mat. I'm going to go through the different mats really quick just to make sure I don't want to keep anything else together before we cut. You can see the sun part of the design is currently separated, which is not what we want. So we will go back and attach all of the sun elements together. So we can just select that group and click Attach. Let's make sure we didn't miss any others real quick. We can definitely keep the flip-flop together, so we'll go back and attach those 2 pieces as well. Keeping those 2 pieces together will make layering much easier. Okay, so it looks like everything that needs to be together during the cut is attached correctly. Now you have 2 choices here for organizing the mats for the cut. You can choose to cut each color separately on their own mat. This will require you to load up the mat 9 different times if you're using all of the colors that I'm using today. What I like to do to save time is actually load up all of the design onto one mat so that I can cut all of the colors at once. To do that, you will go to the mat you want to move, click on the design, and click the 3 little dots on the top of the design. Then you will select Move Object and pick the mat you want to move it to. Once it's on the new mat, move it over so that none of the cuts will overlap. Then go to the next color you want to move over. When I move the next color over, I like to bring it down to the next whole number on the mat. This makes it super easy for me to line up my vinyl later on the mat to make sure I don't accidentally cut outside of the material. Now we can do this process for all of the different design elements until they are all on one mat. When you move all of the elements to one mat, Design Space changes the color to the mat you are moving it to. So make sure you're keeping track of what colors you're using for each design element so you know where to line up the colors on the mat later. I didn't have quite enough room to fit the entire design on one mat, so I'm going to place the remaining elements on a second mat. Now that we have everything down to 2 mats, we need to turn on the mirror option for both of the mats. Anytime you use iron-on vinyl, you need to make sure to mirror the design. This has to be turned on for each mat you have designs on. You will see that when I selected mirror on the pink mat, some of my design elements are now overlapping. Make sure to move any design elements that are overlapping, otherwise the cut will overlap as well. Before we click continue, I like to go ahead and load up my mat so that I can see the grid lines in Design Space and know exactly where to place the vinyl on the mat. Use the measurements on the mat in Cricut Design Space to determine what size you need to cut each color of HTV down to. When you place the iron-on vinyl onto your mat, make sure you put it shiny side down. I will start at the top of the mat and then work my way down with all of the different colors of vinyl. Make sure you double check your placement of the vinyl in Design Space so you don't accidentally cut outside of the material. Once the vinyl is on the mat, I like to use a brayer tool to make sure the material is really stuck on well. Before we cut, we need to select our material type. I'm doing this part on my tablet, but you can do it on your computer as well. If you are using Cricut brand heat transfer vinyl, then be sure to select the specific kind as your material type. I'm using a non-Cricut brand HTV, so I'm going to set my material to heat transfer vinyl non-Cricut. If you are using an Explore machine, you will want to set the dial to iron-on. Once you select your material, the arrow button on your machine should start blinking, meaning you are ready to load your mat. Once the mat is loaded, the Cricut button will start blinking and you are ready to start cutting. When the machine is done cutting, the arrow button will start blinking again and you can unload the mat. To take the iron-on vinyl off of the mat, you will want to flip over the mat and gently peel the mat back from the HTV. Now you will notice that the Cricut actually cut all the way through the plastic sheet on my HTV in some places. All that means is that there was a bit too much pressure when it was cutting. This can happen when you're using non-Cricut HTV because all brands are a little bit different. It makes weeding a little trickier, but won't cause any issues in the final design, so it's not a big deal. We have 2 mats for this project since they wouldn't all fit in one, so now we need to load up the mat with the last 2 colors of vinyl. Design Space should already have the second mat pulled up so you can see where to place your vinyl. Then select your material type again and load the mat. Once it is done cutting, unload the mat again and remove the vinyl. To weed the design elements, I'm using a Cricut weeding tool, and I highly recommend you do as well. I've linked all of the materials I recommend for this project below. When I am weeding, the first thing I do is get the bulk of the excess vinyl peeled off. This part is sped up quite a bit, but when you're weeding, especially if you're new to all of this, take your time with this part so you don't actually tear or weed the wrong parts of the design. After I get the bulk of the excess vinyl off of the design, I go back and get all of the smaller pieces in the letters and the rest of the design. As I'm weeding the different pieces, I also like to check to see if there are any large parts of vinyl that don't have cuts that can be trimmed off and used for smaller projects in the future. I really dislike wasting vinyl, so I try to do that anytime I cut a design. Make sure you look over the design a few times just to double check that there aren't any little pieces you missed when weeding. Next, we need to cut apart the different design elements so that we have separate pieces for each image that's going to be on our bag. Make sure you only cut the plastic sheet and not any of the actual design. Now I'm going to pull up Cricut's heat guide so I can figure out what temperature I need to set my Cricut Easy Press to. I will put that link below as well. For this project, I'm selecting the Easy Press, then selecting Cricut Everyday Iron-On for the material because it is close enough to the type of HTV I'm using. Then I select what type of material I'm applying the HTV to, in this case, cotton. I'm also using a Cricut Easy Press mat, so I will select that and click Apply. The heat guide recommends setting the temperature to 315 degrees for 30 seconds and applying light pressure. Then after we heat the front, we will also press the back of the bag for 15 seconds. So I'm going to adjust my temperature on my heat press to 315 degrees, and the time is already set for 30 seconds, so we are ready to go. To get the design lined up in the center of the bag, I am folding the bag in half and then applying heat. This will put a crease on the bag right in the center so I have a visible line to place my design on. This will also preheat our bag, which Cricut recommends doing for 5 seconds before applying iron-on vinyl. Next, to line up the design, I'm going to start with the words by folding over the design and gently creasing the top and bottom of the plastic sheet. Then I can match those lines up to the line in the center of my bag. I'm just using my best judgment on how far down I want the words to go, but I'm also going to use the starfish on top of the words just to make sure it fits and looks how I want it. That looks good to me, so I'm going to do the same process with the vibes part of the design. Now we can start lining up the other elements on our bag. I have the design pulled up on my tablet so I can see where all of the images should go. When I am layering a design that doesn't overlap, I always place the larger part of the image down first. So you can see that I'm placing the purple part of the flip-flop first. Then after we heat this layer, we can just add the next color on top of the flip-flop and heat again. The sun and starfish only have one layer, so once they are heated, we won't have to do anything else with them. The watermelon is also centered in this design, so I will gently fold it over and make creases in the plastic sheet so I can line it up with the line we ironed onto the bag earlier. When you get to the bottom of the bag, you will want to make sure that the entire image will fit without going over the pink part. So once I place the ice cream down, I will hold up the cone to make sure it's going to fit well. Same thing with the bucket of sand. I need to make sure that the sand and shovel aren't going to overlap with the popsicle stick. So I will place those on top of the design just to make sure everything is going to fit. Then you can peel those layers back up before we heat the first layer of the design. Now that the first layer of the design is lined up, we are ready to apply heat. I almost always use a protective sheet over my designs anytime I'm using heat now to avoid any burn spots or discoloration in the product I'm heating. I will link the sheets that I like to use down below. Just place the heat press down on top of the protective sheet to make sure that you are covering all of your design. If your heat press doesn't cover the entire design, you can heat the design in sections. So just do half of it for the specified time and then the other half for the same amount of time, or you can do it in quarters. Then we will flip over the bag and press for 15 more seconds. The type of HTV that I am using is a warm peel, meaning you have to peel the plastic sheet away from the design while it is warm. The type of vinyl you purchase will specify if it is a warm peel or cool peel heat transfer vinyl. Once you start to peel the plastic sheet away, if you notice any parts of the design not adhering to the bag, just place the plastic sheet back down and go over that spot with the heat press again. If you have a heat press mini, that works really well for small areas that aren't sticking as well. When you peel off your plastic sheet, make sure you keep all of the pieces nearby. You will need them when we go to heat the rest of our design. You will notice I left the plastic sheet on all of the elements that are not layered. This is to protect them when we apply heat again. Now we can start adding the next layer of vinyl to each of the images. I'm starting with the seeds on the watermelon. Just line up the seeds over the empty spaces in the watermelon and press the plastic sheet down to make sure it doesn't move around when we go to heat it. Then grab the plastic sheet that was on the first layer of the watermelon and put it over the seeds layer. This will protect the vinyl when we add heat again. You never want to heat uncovered vinyl. Then we can do the same for the remaining layers. For the bucket of sand, there are actually 2 more colors to heat. Instead of heating the entire design 3 times, I'm going to trim down the plastic sheet on the shovel so I can just line it up right next to the sand. Then I'm going to lift up the plastic sheet on the sand and place the shovel right up next to the tan vinyl. I'm also going to trim the plastic sheet on the popsicle stick to make it a little easier to line up. You will notice that my sandcastle is a little too far to the left, so my shovel is in the way of the popsicle stick. To fix this, I'm just going to move the shovel down a little bit further on the sand to make room. I also totally forgot about the green part of my watermelon earlier, so I need to peel up the plastic sheet and the seeds on the watermelon so I can add it. Once it is in place, I can add my seeds back again and then the plastic sheet back over the entire watermelon. Now we can add the black part of the sunglasses. Before you go to heat the design, double check that you don't have any of the vinyl exposed. You need to have the plastic sheet back over all of the design elements. Now we can place the protective sheet back down and heat the design again for 30 seconds at 315 degrees. Then flip the bag over and heat the back again for 15 more seconds. Now you can peel the plastic sheet off of all of the design elements and you are done. I really love how this turned out and can't wait to use it this summer when we go to the pool. I hope you get a chance to make one and feel more comfortable about layering iron-on vinyl. Don't forget to grab this free design and the written tutorial for this bag on my website listed below. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!